Okay, well, good evening. I'd like to call a meeting to order and just take a moment to wish everyone Happy New Year, good health, good IT for for the whole year. And of course, I wish everyone in Malahide and all of us lots of moments of success as one team on Team Malahide. Hopefully, zero significant surprises or big drama. And of course, lots and lots of learning as we continue to be forever curious and trying to understand. So that's my wish for all of us. And with that, I'll go on to the next item on the meeting is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Mayor
Madam-
Whitner.
Oh, yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a few. The Kettle Creek Drain, the Pressy Line Drain, the Burks and the McIntyre drains, and the reappointment of engineers and the drainage update. Other than that, that's it.
Thank you for that. Councillor Glinsky.
I have two, the Tate Drain on page 7 of resolution 17, the first bullet. And page 29, the reappointment of the drainage engineer. And the second one is page 31, the Glinsky Drain, now complete.
Thank you. Those are all noted. So next, could we have a look at the previous minutes? Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I have the resolution?
That the minutes of the regular meeting of the council held on December 15th, 2022 be adopted and printed and circulated.
Thank you. Can I have mover and seconder? Serna, Lewis, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay, next we have our first court of revision. Want to read the resolution, please?
That the council of the township of Malahide does hereby appoint the following members to sit on the court of revision for the Kettle Creek Drain. Mayor Dominique Giguere as the chair, Councillor Sarah Leach, and Thames Center Councillor Chantal Crockett.
Thank you. Welcome, Chantal. I need a mover and seconder for that motion. Lewis, Leach, all in favor? Carried.
And that the court of revision for the Kettle Creek Drain be called to order at 7:42 PM.
Mover and seconder,
I'll move it.
Leach and Glinsky, all in favor? Carried. Okay, do you want me to start with the procedure then? Yeah. Okay, so this meeting refers to the Kettle Creek Drain, referring also to the engineer report dated August 25th, 2022. And the engineer reporting is Mike DeVos from Spreet Associate. Mike, can you walk us through the outline and nature of the proposed drainage works? As well as the assessment
Yes, I can.
schedule? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, this drain is an existing open channel. The lower portion is having some maintenance done to it in terms of bottom clean out, a little bit of erosion control on a few properties and on the county road. And the upper portions will be reconstructed, including the removal of one private crossing and the reconstruction of another private crossing. So it's the middle portion of the drain, and at the quarter revision, it is the opportunity for landowners to voice concern with their individual assessments in relation to other people's assessments or other properties' assessments. So I have no knowledge of any appeals that have been submitted to date, but I'm not sure if the municipality has in the meantime.
Allison, or have we received any written comments or objections?
There have been no written comments or objections received.
Okay, and is there anyone in attendance wishing to comment? Okay, so hearing no comments from anyone in attendance, I'll open the discussion to members of the court. Any comments or questions, Counselor Leach?
At this time, I have nothing. Thank you.
No questions or comments? And could we have then the information on the appeal process if it were to be warranted? Mike, do you want to
Yes,
outline
with
that?
with the Court of Revision, any party that has appealed to the Court of Revision can appeal further to the tribunal, but because there were no appeals, that process for appealing any assessments has been closed and finished. There was 40 days from the original distribution of the report for people to appeal to the tribunal for construction. So that will last another couple of weeks or so until that time frame has passed, and then the municipality can pass the bylaw.
Okay, thank you for that then. So the final resolution, Allison?
That the Court of Revision members for the Kettle Creek Drain do hereby accept the recommendation of drainage engineer Mike DeVos, and further does hereby confirm the drainage assessments as outlined in the report of the drainage engineer dated August 25th, 2022.
Mover and seconder? Leach? And does it, has to be?
Yes.
Has to be Crockett, yes?
I'll second.
All in favor? Carried.
And that the Court of Revision relating to the Kettle Creek Drain be adjourned and the council meeting reconvene at 7:46.
Mover and seconder? Leach? Crockett? All in favor? And carried. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so next on the agenda, there's another court of revision, this time for the Pressy Line Drain resolution.
That the council of the township of Malahide does hereby appoint the following members to sit on the Court of Revision for the Pressy Line Drain: Mayor Dominique Giguère as chair, Councillor John H. Wilson, and Councillor Rick Cerna.
Mover and seconder, Lewis. Wilson, all in favor? Carried.
That the Court of Revision for the Pressy Line Drain be called to order at 7:47 PM and that Dominique Giguère be appointed chair.
Mover and seconder. Cerna, Wilson, all in favor? Can I just see that again? All in favor? Carried. Okay, so this Court of Revision has been called to order, and this meeting is referring to the Pressy Line Drain. There's an engineer report dated September 30th, 2022, and the engineer reporting is again Mike DeVos from Spreet Associates. Mike, can you walk us through the outline and also the related assessment schedule, please?
Yes, this drain is a tile drain. Approximately a little over 500 meters long. It serves watershed area on both the north side and south side of Pressy Line in the area of Carter Road and Pegram Line. It was an existing war drain that was being replaced with a newer, larger pipe with more capacity for the landowners. Again, being the Court of Revision, it's dealing with any people's concerns with assessments or the distribution of the cost amongst the land in relation to other people's assessments or other properties' assessments. And to date, I do not know of any appeals that have been submitted.
Okay, thank you for that. Allison, any written comments or objections received?
Nothing was received.
And is there anyone in attendance who wishes to comment or ask a question? Not hearing anyone. Members of the court, any comments or questions? No? So Mike, can you walk us again through the appeal process if it were to be warranted?
Yes, because there was no appeals to the Court of Revision, the process for appealing people's assessments is closed. But there still is the 40-day period for appealing construction, which started at the distribution of the provisional bylaw. So there still is going to be approximately a couple more weeks before that timeline lapses, and then the municipality can pass the bylaw after that.
Okay, thank you for that. Allison, the resolution then?
That the Court of Revision members for the Pressy Line Drain do hereby accept the recommendation of drainage engineer Mike DeVos and further does hereby confirm the drainage assessments as outlined in the report of the drainage engineer dated September 30th, 2022.
Mover and seconder. Wilson, Serna, all in favor? Carried.
That the Court of Revision relating to the Pressy Line Drain be adjourned and the council meeting reconvene at 7:50 PM.
Mover and seconder. Wilson, Serna, all in favor? Carried. And we have a third Court of Revision meeting this evening. Allison, do you want to read the resolution?
That the council of the township of Malahide does hereby appoint the following members to sit on the Court of Revision for the Burke's Drain number 3, Mayor Dominique Giguere, Councillor Sarah Leach, and Councillor Scott Lewis.
Mover and seconder. Leach, Wilson, all in favor? Carried.
That the Court of Revision for the Burke's Drain number 3 be called to order at 7:51 PM and that Dominique Giguere be appointed chair.
Mover and seconder. Lewis, Serna, all in favor? Carried. Okay, so this meeting has been called to order. It is referring to Burke's Drain number 3. The engineer report is dated October 5th, 2022, and the engineer reporting is George from Spreet Associate.
Yes,
Okay.
I'll speak on behalf of this if I could.
Okay, go ahead.
It's Mike here. Good. Okay. Yeah, this is a small tile drain that starts from the Brooks Drain. It heads south through the Burke's property just west of Whitaker Road. Goes to and across Lyons Line to capture a small watershed area on the south side of the road. There was an old private drain in that location, and the landowners wish to have a larger, proper sized pipe installed to take the amount of water that was coming from the area. It wasn't adequate. The old drain wasn't adequate. So they requested this new drain be installed. Similar to the other meetings, I have not received or I'm not aware of any appeals that have been submitted with regards to the assessments.
Thank you for that. Allison, any written comments or objections received?
There's been nothing received.
Thank you. Anyone in attendance wishing to comment? Not seeing, hearing anyone? Any comments from the court member, Councillor Leach or Lewis? No questions or comments? Resolution?
That the Court of Revision members for the Burke's Drain number 3 do hereby accept the recommendations of drainage engineer Mike DeVos and further does hereby confirm the drainage assessments as outlined in the report of the drainage engineer dated October 5th, 2022.
Mover and seconder, Lewis, Leach, all in favor? Carried.
That the Court of Revision relating to the Burke's Drain number 3 be adjourned and the council meeting reconvene at 7:54 PM.
Mover and seconder, Leach, Lewis, all in favor? Carried. Okay, next on the agenda is Deputy Mayor Widner still? Yes, okay. So this time it's a meeting to consider the McIntyre drain, the resolution. No?
Speak.
Okay, so if I can ask, John, do you want to walk us through this consideration?
Thank you, Your Worship. Tonight's meeting is a consideration. It's a Section 78 report The W McIntyre drain is an existing municipal drain, and the landowner, Don McIntyre, constructed a new barn in the same location where a portion of the existing drain was. So what we're doing tonight is we've incorporating the relocated drain, so the drain is no longer under the barn. And we're doing that under the Drainage Act under Section 78 report. So the total work done was simply 82 meters of 250 millimeter diameter drainage pipe that was rerouted around the around the barn to continue the functioning of the W McIntyre drain. The construction was done by a reputable contractor under the supervision of the drainage superintendent. Are there any questions, Your Worship?
Thank you for that. So is there anyone in attendance who wishes to comment or ask any questions? Not hearing anyone. We can proceed with the resolution then.
Yep. That the engineer's report for the W McIntyre drain be accepted and that bylaw number 23-02 being a bylaw to provide for the W McIntyre drain drainage works be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted.
Mover and seconder. Leach and Wilson, all in favor? Carried.
And that the Court of Revision for the W McIntyre drain be scheduled to be held on February 2nd, 2023 at 7:30 PM.
Mover and seconder. Lewis, Leach, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we're now ready to move to reports of departments. This evening, we have a few reports from the Director of Public Works, Mr. Sweetland.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Gier and council. My first report this evening is in relation to a number of operations and capital projects that staff suggest are priority needs in 2023. So as council is aware, the proposed 2023 budget has not yet been presented or adopted. However, projects noted in this report are either required to be undertaken or have received some prior direction to be initiated, as it'd be a financial benefit to proceed with ahead of adopting the 2023 budget, which could happen as late as March. So there are obviously other works to be proposed in the 2023 budget, which will be forthcoming at a later date. But the projects I've noted in this report include the road needs study update, the Carter Road structure rehabilitation, the single axle plow replacement, and multi-year roadside grass cutting contract. So the requirements to proceed with these projects are described in the staff report. The selected works, which have received prior direction for inclusion, will benefit from tendering early in the calendar year before contractors fill up their spring and summer schedules. I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councilor Lewis.
Through your worship to Matt, just on the ditch cutting contract, what would the term be on that, Matt, if I may ask?
Through you, your worship, we typically go with a 3-year tender or a 3-year contract for the roadside grass cutting. With this contract, we were considering a 4-year contract to align with the terms of council. And also noting we have a new tractor in our road department fleet that does have the ability to undertake the work, and an additional staff member that was included, that was added to the complement in 2022. The implement required for that tractor is an expensive piece. So we'd be looking at doing another term of a multi-year contract and then considering how to get that implement to start undertaking the work in-house. So right now, we typically go with a 3-year contract. We're proposing a 4-year contract, but that's loose. We can stick with a 3-year and look at the implement as well.
Thank you. Other questions or comments on that? Deputy Mayor Whitner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Matt, that mower is over 100,000. I think it's around $150,000. So it's a big purchase and it's kind of high maintenance. So the tractor is due. I get that, but we have to look at both scenarios, I guess, that's for sure. But I think a 3-year would be better than we have some choices then. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Counselor Wilson.
I'm not really sure if we may encounter the same sort of thing that we encountered with the getting prices for the ice removal in Port Bruce. The mower itself may be expensive, but we might choke a bit when we find out what the updated prices are gonna be on that. So I think it's sort of worth looking at whether we like some harder numbers before we make a decision on it, because it's, unless we know what those numbers are, how do you figure out what's going to be the worst pill to swallow?
So, Matt, what would be the shortest contract you would recommend? Is it 3 years? To give us time, I think what I'm hearing from council, there's an interest in exploring, the pros and cons of in-house versus contracted. So if that's the agreement, what would you recommend as the shortest contract?
So we look at the 3-year contract typically because a shorter term contract, a new contractor will build in the price of new equipment into a shorter time frame, so which often results in a higher cost per year. So over the 3-year, you can stretch that equipment purchase out should a tenderer require to purchase a piece of equipment. So that said, like the multi-year contracts, we have some time to build a business case to see whether assess those actual costs and determine whether a piece of equipment owned by ourselves that requires maintenance, those types of things would be a benefit, or if we continue with the multi-year contracts going forward. I believe last year we were in the $52,500 range for grass cutting. We're proposing a $60,000 budget for this year. Obviously, this would be tendered and the best price come out. Not to say that it would be 60,000, it could be higher, it could be lower, but we'd be looking at those things as well as building a business case for a piece of equipment if it makes sense to do so. So again, I'd still be looking at, I'd recommend a 3-year contract.
Any other comments then on the other items? Deputy Whitner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Matt, I'm looking at the single axle plow replacement. That's a lot of money. And we don't know what the top figure is going to be. It could be only 40 grand on top of it, right? For the emissions enhancements. And I don't love going into contract without knowing what it is, because it's is our road truck that bad that it wouldn't survive a bit? Because I have a fear we're gonna get a truck that won't be as reliable as what we got. You know what I mean, with the emission stuff? But that's a lot of money. That's about what we're paying for double axles, right? Tandems. And this is just a big overgrown pickup in reality, right? With a plow on it. So I don't know. I think we have to, when is the tender? When do we have to let them know if we take it or not?
Through your worship, I'd have to check the terms of the tender. I'm not sure off the top of my head what the total time applicable timeline is that we'd have to give an answer on. That noted, the current plow that we're using, it's at, call it the end of useful life, where the maintenance starts to add up in the later years. So I believe last year it was around $10,000 just to keep it going. So we try to offset those large expenses by a shorter timeline on a vehicle, or on a large vehicle like this. So you're correct. The amount is higher than what was expected. And then noting the emissions requirements are additional things. No, we do have tendered amount that we would get, but then the future costs, yeah, we don't know what those could end up being. So I would have to get back to you on what the term to respond to the tender award would be.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And I'd personally like to see what the maintenance problems have been on this truck, because it hasn't got a lot of kilometers on it, I don't believe. $10,000 doesn't go far towards $358,000. We could spend 20 grand and put the thing back in nicer shape. And it's just my opinion, but I'd almost like to defer that until we got a little more information if we can do it with the tender, but it's my opinion. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Counselor Glinski.
I'd like to support Councillor Widner's suggestion that we have another look at this because 10 or 20,000 maybe isn't so bad when you're looking at 358,000. So I would go along with him to defer this until we have some more information. Thank you.
Looking at either Matt or Adam, is there a way to find out this? I'm wondering if within this meeting, the terms of the, you know, how long the quote is valid for? So, because I would hate to defer and then find out that the quote is only valid until next week and we don't have another council meeting to consider it. Any advice on how we could proceed?
Through you, your worship, Matt Sweetland, do you have a copy of the tender to know if there's some timeframes?
Through your worship, I can check into that online here. So this first report is just seeking for pre-budget approval. Then later in the agenda, we have the actual award. So I'll have some time to look into that following this report.
Okay, so we could proceed with this resolution and then the actual, we'll consider the award of the contract later on the agenda. As far as, so the resolution does include a multi-year grass cutting. Do we want it to specify and give direction as a 3-year contract instead of multi-year, or is it, can we leave it as is? And but you know, the wish of council is for a 3-year contract. Okay. So if there are no other questions, then we'll proceed with the resolution.
That report number PW 23-01 entitled 2023 Priority Capital and Operating Undertakings be received, and that the following items be approved for inclusion into the 2023 capital budget. Roads Need Study Update Project in the budget amount of 10,000. Carter Road Structure Rehabilitation Project in the budget amount of 200,000. Single axle plow replacement in the budget amount of $358,505. And the multi-year roadside grass cutting contract in the budget amount of $60,000. And that the township staff be authorized and directed to proceed accordingly with the above noted projects.
Yes, Councillor Cerna.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. This $358,000, is that for just a truck or is that complete? That's everything.
That's complete and outfitted with plow and all the winter control equipment.
Okay.
Okay, so could I have a mover and seconder then? To approve to approve these amounts to go in the budget. Lewis, Leach, all in favor? Carried. Okay, the next report I think is still with you, Matt, with the reappointment of drainage engineers.
And we have Bob Lopez with us, the drainage superintendent, who's going to prepare this report.
Yes, good evening, your worship and members of council. I have 2 reports tonight. The first of which is entitled Reappointment of Drainage Engineers. There are several petition drains in the township for which we have not yet received engineers' reports. The above mentioned drains have exceeded the 1-year time limit for the filing of an engineer's report as specified under sections 39 of the Drainage Act. So at this time, we're recommending the township pass a resolution to extend the time for a period of 1 year for the investigation and preparation of engineers' reports for these drains.
Thank you, Bob. Comments, questions? Bob, is it unusual for projects to go over the 1-year limit? And do we know what tends to be the reason why we exceed the limit?
Through you, your worship, the drainage process is long sometimes. We have several meetings, usually with landowners. They can be contentious. Depending on the size of the drains involved, they can be quite, complicated. We have consultations with the various agencies, DFO, Catfish Creek, sometimes the MNR. It just sometimes gets drawn out, through meetings and resubmissions of designs. And people wanting changes. So it's generally, a year is pretty optimistic in my opinion. Generally, it's, when somebody comes to me with a large drain, I know it's going to be a fairly extensive process. I will, let them know it's going to probably be more like 2 years is what I would recommend, or what I would state to them anyway. The average time for drains is usually around 2 to 3 years now. The last 5 years or so, we've been getting our drains. We've been very good turnaround times on some of our drains. A year and a half. So I think the service we're getting from the engineers is pretty good. When you look at the overall time frame for some of these drains.
Okay, so the average is not just for Malahide, it's sort of, if I'm hearing correctly.
Yeah,
For in
sorry.
other municipalities as well?
Yeah, I think that's the information I looked at was across the board, across the province. There's very few engineers that actually undertake this kind of work. Drainage engineers are hard to come by these days, and I know for a fact that they're usually stacked to the rafters with projects, and they do their best to try and and expedite some of that work. So part of my job here is to try and work with the engineer to take some of the work away from them, and help them out as much as I can to try and facilitate the process. So.
Okay, thank you for putting that in context. Any other comments or questions? If not, we'll proceed with the resolution.
That report number PW 23-02 entitled Reappointment of Drainage Engineers, Various Drains be received, and that the following engineers be reappointed as follows. Mike DeVos of Spreed Associates for the Willieville Line Drain, Township of Malahide petition, the Chait Drain, and the Kettle Creek Drain. Andrew Galvezi of Cyril DeMeyer Limited for the Cook Drain, Elmer Evangelical Mennonite Mission Church and Bandman petition. Peter Penner of Cyril DeMeyer Limited for the Thompson Drain, branches D and E, and John Spreed of Spreed Associates for the Sparta Line Drain.
Mover and seconder. Lewis and Serna, all in favor? Carried. Bob, did I understand correctly? You're taking us through the next report as well?
Yes, Your Worship, sorry, just trying to get my screens organized here. It's like mission control here. So the second report I have here is the biannual drainage update report. It's pretty self-explanatory. We have several drains right now that are in the design stage. We're waiting for designs. We have 3 or so drains out for tender right now. And we had a total of about 5 drains that were actually completed and constructed in the summer of 2022 in the fall as well. So like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll go with the resolution.
The report number PW 23-03 entitled Drainage Update Report be received.
Mover and seconder. Leach, Wilson, all in favor? Carried. Counselor Glinsky, you can come back if you can hear us. Deputy Mayor Widner, welcome back. So the next item is, as we mentioned earlier, when we discussed the actual award of the contract for the dump truck. Matt, do you want to comment further?
Yes, through your worship. So yes, this project was discussed earlier in the meeting. I can note that the expected budgeted replacement value or replacement budget was $315,000 in the replacement plan. So the tendered amount is $43,000 higher than expected. We have the 2 tenders submitted that are in line and applicable for award. And I have noted that council has up to February 14th to make an award. So if there's additional information requested from council, it can come back to staff and we can proceed with a further report.
Sure. Yes, I was also looking at the tender requirements. So yeah, there's 90 days for council to make a decision after the tender closing. But what council will recall is I provided a report at council's first regular meeting of this term with regards to the lame duck or the restricted acts clauses delegated to the CAO during lame duck. This item being what was approved to be tendered, and it was noted in that report that council could be, or the township could be, avoiding some fees, some costs with regards to suppliers, with regards to parts and supplier backlogs due to the current economy. So there was some potential savings by getting ahead of the game. So what we can do if council directs is what we can do is have a follow-up report at the next meeting with maybe some more detail with regards to the advantages and disadvantages of delaying or moving forward with this tender.
How does that sound? Council comments, Councillor Lewis?
Through you, your worship. I think Mark was getting at the point, though, we should have, I don't know where, but have our old truck looked at to see if it is possible to go further. There has to be somebody that can tell us it's gonna be X to make it, forecast that you can get a little bit longer out of it. And yeah, if it's $50,000 and it's still good for 3 more years, it's still cheaper than proceeding. You can't say that until somebody's looked at and done the job to say it is still worthy. I really, there's a good point to be made there, because if it's still worthy, then it still should be used until its life cycle isn't up on paper, but is up on usage.
Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you. Mayor Gazier, I agree with that. These things are certified every year. They're gone over. They have to meet standards, so they're not total junk. There's no way. Personally, I'd have trouble supporting until I could actually look at one. I know that maybe that it wasn't allowed a few years ago. I don't care. I want to, if I'm going to spend $375,000, I want to see what I'm replacing. I mean, that's just what I did all my life. So I'd like to have a look. With council's permission, I would like to have a look. Maybe Mr. Lewis would like to look too. Thank you.
Councillor Leach?
So this truck isn't going to show up in the yard until 2024. So we're still looking at making the truck we have roadworthy and keep the maintenance up on it as well. So this is actually a looking ahead, correct?
Through your worship, that's correct. We would keep the existing truck in service until the new one is received, which is our typical practice.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councillor Zelinski, go ahead.
I'd like to support Councillor Widner and Lewis on this. This is a low-use vehicle that we're talking about. So I have a hard time visualizing that it is finished. Trucks are usually built a little sturdier than, let's say, a pickup, and they tend to last a little longer. And as it was mentioned a few minutes ago, they are completely certified every year. So it's not like we're putting a piece of junk on the road. So I'd like to support Councillor Lewis and Widner and have somebody have a look at it and tell us exactly what the long range forecast is for that vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And yeah, I can appreciate that this item was considered and approved by council at a previous meeting. I think perhaps we were not expecting an extra $43,000, which is causing a bit of a rethink. So I hope that can be appreciated by staff. It's not sort of flip-flopping. It's sort of, oh, okay, now that we know the price, perhaps we look at Plan B. So I think the direction to staff would be to come back with the report of, as we said, pros and cons of scenarios, postpone or purchase now, as Councillor Leach mentioned, even though it's for 2014. And similar to other decisions, this is another one where there's, crystal ball kind of, there's guessing, there's unknowns on both in both scenarios. So we'll take that into consideration. If everybody's okay with that, any other comments from staff? Is that agreeable? Counselor Serna.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Matt, what does this truck do in the summertime?
Through you, your worship, everything gets repurposed for continued use year round. We have winter control equipment that gets removed, like all of our vehicles end up getting used.
And I will leave it also at the discretion of Deputy Mayor Widner and Councillor Lewis if you wish to provide your expertise in an advisory capacity to support our staff's exploration of decision. Like, I think we make sure we stay in our lane. I think that could be agreeable for this particular case. So with all that, Allison, did you magically come up with that resolution?
That
I was buying you
report-
time there.
The report number PW 2304 entitled Tender Award Single Axle Dump Truck Complete with Winter Control Equipment be received, and that council directs staff to provide further information regarding the current piece of equipment, including the results of an inspection, and that staff provide a follow-up report with these findings and recommendations.
Mover and seconder, Lewis, Widner, all in favor? Carried. Okay, next on the agenda, we have reports from outside boards. Today we have the report from the Police Services Board. Any comments or questions? And if not, we'll do a resolution.
That the following reports of committees and outside boards be noted and filed for the Elgin Group Police Services Board minutes of September 6, 2022.
Mover and seconder,
I'll move it.
Blinsky, Lewis, all in favor? Carried. Next, we have correspondence. Comments, questions, items to endorse? Deputy Mayor Widner.
Thank you, Mayor Gajero. I have two at the moment, the Lanark County, the violence against women. I think we should support that. That seems to be more prevalent, and I've had a case in our family that's near and dear to my heart about that, so. And also, Elgin Group Police Services Board about increased fines for speeding. Maybe that's what it's gonna take to slow these people down, but it's still not great out there. I don't like doing it, but it's something's gotta happen. So I would support that. There's a couple other if you want to talk about, but it's about the conservation authorities. I don't know. Do we have a fight in that? Otherwise, I would support both of those, I guess. 7 and 8, or 7 and
6 and 8?
6 and
6 and 8, and then
8.
7.
And 7, sure. So 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that? Any other comments or questions or other items to endorse? So remind me, Alice, so we'll receive the correspondence and we'll come back to the appointments.
Right, so
Okay.
we are going to receive, so we're going, that items 6, 7, and 8 be supported and the remainder be of the correspondence be noted and filed.
Okay, mover and seconder for that. Serna? Lewis, all in favor? Carried. And secondly, we'll consider the appointments to joint boards.
So within the correspondence, number 3, the municipality of Bam for the Long Point Region Conservation Authority Board appointment. We need a resolution supporting the appointment of the Bam member on our behalf. So the resolution is that the Council of the Township of Malahide supports the appointment of Rainey Weisler as the jointly appointed member to the Long Point Region Conservation Authority Board of Directors for the 2022 to 2026 term.
Mover and seconder,
I'll move it.
Serna? Glinsky, all in favor? Carried. Hey, any other business? Seeing none. Bylaws. So this, so today we have one of the bylaws. Do you want to start with the committee
Sure.
appointment? Go ahead.
So the resolution essentially is that bylaw number 2301, being a bylaw to appoint a representative to the Elgin County Land Division Committee, be given first, second, and third readings and be properly signed and sealed.
Sure.
And mover and seconder? Widner, Cerna, all in favor? Carried. For
Yeah.
bylaws? And we have no closed session items this evening. So confirmatory bylaw,
That bylaw number 23-03, being a confirmatory bylaw, be given first, second, and third readings and be properly signed and sealed.
mover and seconder. Widner, Leach, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Did it from miles away.
And adjournment.
That the council adjourn its meeting at 8:25 PM to meet again on January 19th, 2023 at 7:30 PM.
Mover and seconder. Widner, Glinski, all in favor? Carried. Tradition continued.